Howdy, folks. Happy Monday. We have some things to discuss today, but we have a lengthy pre-show because of some news in other sports and some notable passings in the world. Go ahead, Ross.
Just to answer Michael Cohen, I would get the vaccine, but I will wait a little bit of time just to make sure, people don't die from it. And if they don't, then I'll get it. Anyhow.
High bar for us there.
It's a high bar. Let's talk about Major League Baseball. Tony Clark came out. I saw an article from Barry Bloom, who is an old friend. He actually used to cover the Rangers beat a long time ago in New York, and great guy. He's been on the West Coast for a while now. I see him once in a while, but he did an article, and Tony Clark has basically said we're going to have 162 games. And I got to tell you, even the MLB Network, Howard Reynolds, who I think is probably the most optimistic guy about anything baseball, couldn't sign on for that. Basically, he couldn't get him to say, yeah, that's probably going to happen.
You know what I think that the result of this may be? I mean, because the market seems to be chilled. I think players like Stroman and even maybe LeMahieu, although if LeMahieu gets the MVP, that'll may change it. They might take the qualifying offers.
I think it's by
Stroman won't.
The rumor is Stroman as of last weekend, the rumor was Stroman was not taking the qualifying offer.
Yeah.
That's as of Friday. Now, that may change. I don't think LeMahieu – I think LeMahieu's figuring he's getting a lot more than just the $18.9 mil for the 1 year.
I also – look, end of the day, LeMahieu's dealing with the Yankees. Taking the qualifying offer just makes no sense. It's the Yankees. You could get more years, if nothing else, right?
Right.
The other subject is Astros former GM, and I forget his first name, but Jeff Luhnow is suing the Astros because he feels like he's being blamed too much about the pandemic, and it's like about the cheating, rather. Sorry, and it's like, hold on, dude, this all happened under your watch. If you didn't think any of this was going on, then you're a worse GM than we thought, and you're not getting a job anyhow. Either way, I think he's realized he can't get a job, so now he's going to try and sue the Astros.
Bingo. I think that's what this is. He knows he's a dead man in baseball, so his only way of making any money going forward is to sue the Astros. And maybe
he'll lose that case also. I mean, I don't think he's got a leg to stand on, although he had a couple interesting terms in there that he used to kind of describe what was going on. But I look, Hinch got a job, Cora got a job. We'll have to see about Beltran getting a job. My expectation is he will eventually get a job. Luhnow obviously feels that he's the one being singled out, which, well, yeah, it happened under your watch.
Right. I mean, you're the GM,
one. You technically knew at least enough what was going on. You should, again, if you fell on the sword initially, you probably would have potentially gotten a shot, but you didn't. And you handled it poorly when you made the original announcement. And now you're basically, quote unquote, being blackballed for it. And now you want your pound of flesh, which you're not going to get.
Right. Like, what was the name of the company that owned the Titanic? It was like White Star.
White Star Line.
White Star.
Right. Who was, after the Titanic happened, who was going to order a ship directly from White Star the next year? You know what I mean? Like,
well, they didn't build the ship. The funny thing is they had two sister ships that were the same design as the Titanic. One of them sank in World War I. The other one lasted till I think the 30s or 40s. So,
well, 1 out of 3. It's good in baseball.
Don't run into an iceberg, and you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
But I mean, 1 out of 3 is good for baseball, not so good for ships. But my point is, this guy's in charge. He, everybody kind of knows he's not going to get a job. I think Beltran, because of his role in that cheating, is going to have to wait. It's not going to happen quickly.
And
Cora had a significant role also. I mean, let's not make believe he did not.
No, of course, but the Red Sox had no integrity, so they hired him right back.
So here's the inconsistency here. The case is being made that Beltran was a borderline Hall of Famer, and this will hurt his chances of getting in the Hall of Fame down the line. But David Ortiz, who's a known steroid cheat, he'll be welcomed in with open arms.
Well, hold on. Depends if you believe the 2004 Mitchell report. Secondly, we can get this on a topic at another day. My view is that entire era gets painted with the same brush because of all the people we don't know. There were probably 50 times more people that we don't know who were doing it that just didn't come out in the public light. So the whole era gets painted with the same brush. So that's kind of how I view that whole era. Just put it on the plaque if you have to. Put it in that wing. I mean, look, we're kind of bifurcating here incorrectly. Everybody, they're all painted with the same brush. Some people got caught, some people didn't. I'm not a big believer in everything in the Mitchell report either.
So I don't know why they're against the wing, but clearly the Baseball Hall of Fame is against that, and I don't know why.
So put a needle on the plaque for David Ortiz, and put a couple
You're just pissed off because he beat your team.
And put a couple gambling chips.
You're just pissed off because he beat your team.
No, not at all.
Yes.
Put a couple gambling chips on the one for Pete Rose.
Stop.
Listen, Mike, you had Billy Martin.
You have nothing to stand on here, given the guy who played third base for you guys for years.
The Yankees are not the bastion of being all wholesome and humble. So
sure.
I wouldn't.
Why is the sky blue? Because God is a Maple Leaf and a Yankees fan. Okay, that's a couple other things.
You almost said that with a straight face.
I did.
That was brutal.
Okay, first of all, condolences go out to the family and the fans of to Alex Trebek and the show Jeopardy, who passed away from pancreatic cancer. I think he was 80 years old.
Yep.
It's been publicized for over a year, and I think it was stage 4. So him lasting as long as he did was
20 months or something. That's
pretty he did show right up until 2 weeks before
2019 or something.
Yeah, it's amazing. But somebody asked me today, says, is somebody going to continue? Did I hear right that Ken Jennings is going to be the host?
No. People have proposed that it maybe.
No, I actually know Ken Jennings. Believe it or not, I actually do know Ken Jennings. And through a good friend of mine does a podcast with him all the time. And I asked him this question, and no, there are no decisions. He's been offered it, but he really likes where he lives. Ken Jennings lives out in Seattle. His kids are in high school there. They're doing really well there, and everything like that. He does podcasts. He does his own books. He has his own career going. Ken Jennings has a whole thing going, where he actually makes pretty good money. So,
but they have to find a new host for the show, and I know it'll be tough to find. Because
why? Why do they have to find a new host for Jeopardy? Why?
Well, Jeopardy's a big show. It's a major show.
It was a big show with him. I mean, is The Price is Right as big with Drew Carey? I don't even know.
Still big.
It's still pretty big, right?
Not as big. It's not as good as Bob Barker was, but
Wayne Brady replacing Monty Hall and Let's Make a Deal. I mean, it's not
what. But Let's Make a Deal had lost its cachet because they just reincarnated it. This is now they're trying to make quote unquote seamless transition. So supposedly the last ones that he taped, the last one's going to air on Christmas Day.
Yeah, that's what I heard
today.
Yeah.
So who would replace Eck on this show for a seamless transition?
Anyone. You guys do it perfectly well when I'm not here. Anyone at all. You could just find a monkey puppet would do it perfectly fine.
Yeah, Russ the Chicken will replace him.
Russ the Chicken, yes.
And the other notable passing was Hall of Famer Howie Meeker. Now, he was a Hall of Famer for his broadcast work on Hockey Night in Canada, but he was a former Calder Trophy winner, 4-time Stanley Cup winner with the Leafs from 47 to 51. I remember him in the 70s on Hockey Night in Canada doing the illustrator. So it's,
I
didn't get any of it. So I recently just checked out his work, and he was really good. He actually seemed like he was as good as one of those early innovators like John Madden on the telestrator. He seemed great at it.
Yeah, he was really good, and it was entertaining because he had that really that type of voice, and
but he had a good energy.
He really did. So
yeah, he definitely did.
Yeah. So okay,
all right, let's get started here. Here we go.
You won't see the Leafs win another cup.
19th. Hey, come here. Stop it. The Lucky World is Monday, November 19th, 2020.
Nope.
Try again.
November 9th, 2020. Jeez. All right, here we go. Hello, Hockey World. It is Monday, November 9th, 2020.
I'm Michael Agello, and I get the dates right.
I'm Jan Levine.
Russ Cohen from Sportology. Maybe we should just ingrain the date in the title of the show and take this away from Eck from now on.
There's a calendar right there. So, when I'm working in the kitchen to watch the dogs like I have been lately, which is,
you have it on your watch?
All the I do have it on my watch. I have it on my phone. I have it everywhere. It's probably
the dog knows the date.
I know everybody knows the date. It's just what are the dates? What are the dates really? What day does it matter?
Yes.
Through the election, that's good.
Yeah. Okay, Mob Talk Radio.
There we go. Anyway, do we really care until January when we actually have hockey again? What date it is? Besides.
I mean,
because
some
each
people
state-
care about Christmas and Hanukkah and Thanksgiving, but beyond that, probably not.
Thursdays, I mean, I know Thanksgiving is 3 Thursdays from this one, right? I know. All right, is that right? Yeah. So it's
That'd
this
be 2
Thursday,
Thursdays from this one, but okay.
Well, it depends how you count it. If you count this one and then 2 more, then it depends. Anyway, the whole thing. There are 3 Thursdays, and then Thanksgiving is on the 3rd Thursday. And then
Well said.
yeah. So there you have it. I know that's happening. I know Christmas is the end of December at some point. I don't know, that's about it. That's all we need to know, really. I mean, honestly, the real Thanksgiving, like Big Smoke said in the chat room, happened last month in Canada. So, there you have it. I have one little beef to pick. People always pick on my little my drink that I have here. I drink Gold Peak iced tea, and today I'm drinking the what I like to call the motor oil size. This is like how many ounces?
That would last me a week.
No, this will be a day for me.
That's a week.
89 flow ounces.
Oh my God!
You're gonna get kidney stones.
AKA 2.63 liters of Gold Peak iced tea. But that's not whatever. I mean, you can't buy them right now or sold it everywhere. You have to buy this size, and it actually is better, less plastic. I like that. So I'll drink that. But this is my big problem. If you drink flavored drinks, know that the caps of the flavored drink tell you what they are. Like normally the color of the cap. Gold Peak decided to change the colors of the caps of all of their drinks. So I go into the store, and normally this is gray. It's been gray for 5 years since I started drinking this. Suddenly it's orange, which used to be the peach color, which made more sense because I just drink plain old diet iced tea. This is the kind of thing that I just don't understand at all in this country that we live in. Why would we do such a thing?
What I don't understand is why don't you just read the label?
Well, because after all this,
that's what I do.
Dates, labels. Really, you're new here.
The label, Russ, is gray. See, diet gray. That is the color that the lid was.
Honestly, I get that they do that. I never shop that way. I don't know why.
Heck, does another flavor have a gray cap?
Yes.
Okay, so buy one of those. Take the cap off, and then when you get it home, you can put the different colored cap back on that.
Oh man, we wore an onion on our belt at the time because it was the style. All right, no, we're gonna move on.
Thank God.
Someone's watching Hockey Buzz and Star Trek simultaneously. That must be fun. We're gonna get tomorrow. I want to talk about video games because I think I wanted to give that to you guys today, but I wanted to give you guys a little bit of time to get into it. Unless you guys are able to do it right away, but hockey video games and hockey games in general.
Yeah, I can. I don't care.
If you guys, because I don't have a whole lot to go into today, but we'll get into some things. But I would like to get into games because I've been playing, the new NHL game, and let's do it tomorrow. Let's really do it tomorrow and do it right.
That's fine. I haven't played this year's or last year's. The last couple of years I was real busy with other stuff, but I have a good catalog in my head.
So they're not just. I don't just want to talk video games. I want to talk any game at all, any hockey type related game at all.
Stratomatic. There you go.
Stratomatic, which of course is. But we should do our top. I'll try to do a top 20 list tomorrow because I have made it a habit of collecting anything from knock hockey to air hockey to bubble hockey.
Yeah, knock hockey was the first one I played, and I definitely excelled in it. There's some cheats. There's at least one good cheat in knock hockey that I was able to do.
Really? Well, let's get. Maybe we should do this today. Let's just do it. I'm excited.
All right. So if you want to start with knock hockey,
start with this, and then we'll get into news at the end. We'll change things around.
The cheat was, you had the wooden stick, right? So
let's talk about knock hockey for a second.
So if you get the wooden stick and there used to be a little flex in it, just enough that if you flexed it and you went corner goal, you could do that, and it would be like bing bing in, and it was you had to get the right spot in the middle, and you could hit that almost every time. I
remember, there was a really good, and there of course there were all different sorts of. There was one specific knock hockey brand I'm trying to find for you guys, but it was knock hockey. If you don't know what knock hockey was, I'm going to bring it up on a picture. But explain the concept of it while I bring it up a photo.
Russ.
Explain knock hockey.
Sorry. I thought you. So it basically it's a wooden, a wooden board. You've got 2 goals. They're carved out. You've got a bumper in front of each goalie, and it's just you and a stick and the other guy in the stick, and you had the face off in the center, which you basically just touched your sticks 3 times and.
Here, I'll explain. I'll share a screen now.
What I don't remember is the scoring. I think you shot like 5 times each or something.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the scoring exactly myself. I don't know. This is
shooting without like you would go and then he would go and then you would go.
Yeah, I guess it would just be one after the other.
And also,
Yeah,
you
this
use
is
a lot of
just for the
times without
non-hockey
the stick,
people.
you use your thumb a lot of times as opposed to the stick.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you could use your thumb on a penalty shot, right? Wasn't that the thing?
We always use the thumb instead of using the stick.
Oh, no. See, we only saved the thumb for like a penalty shot.
Because in camp, you knew we never had the stick. It always got lost about a week.
You lost your stick.
And the thing about the thumb was you always had to lick your thumb before you did it so you can get the grip on it.
Oh, that's pretty good. I mean, I liked licking the thumb thing. I don't remember that part.
Oh, yeah.
We had now I would take it.
Maybe it was a New York thing. I'm not sure.
My friend Dan Wallace, who is the Minnesota Wild blogger, I should have him on to talk about this because we used to take it to the extreme when we were kids. And what we would do is, I mean, what he did actually before me, and then I kind of stole it from him. He would take hockey cards of players, build little stands for them, and put them on the actual knock hockey field, and make it like pinball bumpers kind of. So they added a little bit to it, and the cards would get beaten to hell. Like I remember my Ron Lowe, like in a Washington Capitals jersey. I'll never forget. It was my best knock hockey goalie for some reason. And I mean, they did nothing, just stood there. But they would every once
That's what a lot of goalies did in the 60s.
That's true. You could put them in different places. Every hit, like you could put your knock hockey goalie one place. You could move them around, which was kind of fun, and made it like so you had to you couldn't just have a straight on shot. You had to be a little more productive with it. Knock hockey was really fun. I mean, and it's still a big thing. I mean, it's like the perfect lake house type game, like a beach game, like in the sun, like just a thing to have like that you could just put right behind the couch, like at a vacation house. That's how I thought knock hockey was.
Yeah, Timothy says, I could see Russ beating the crap out of Mike in that game. Honestly, there was no way of having a real advantage other than those two shots.
Right.
Yeah, that was the only advantage you really had.
Well,
that's true.
I'm sure. I'm getting an echo here.
Yeah.
We're getting
an echo. We have the reverb.
Okay, I don't hear it. So it's weird.
No, it's gone. It's gone now.
It's gone.
The game I'm sure most people have played is the bubble hockey, the U.S. versus Russia. And I know Ak has one, or at least he used to have.
I have one. We repainted the players to be the Flyers versus the USA 1980 Olympic team.
Keep the Russians. We want the USSR.
There's just not as much hate there.
There's not as much hate, but they were our favorite players.
I can't see Bobby Clark taking a baseball swing to Michael Ruzioni.
Well, I could, but
did anybody?
When I was a manager of a movie theater, one of the fringe benefits was I had the keys to the video games, so I could ring up credit after credit after credit, free credits. And my manager knew this. It was after we got our work done, we could do this to our heart's content. So I would ring up about 30 or 40 credits on the U.S. versus USSR, not playing against anybody else because the other, the usher was up in the projection booth. I was just trying to perfect my shot because the only way you could really win against somebody was to be able to score at random. And I found there were two ways I could score and that nobody could stop it. One was basically a spinorama slap shot with the left winger just by spinning it.
Right. Okay. Yep. I can think. Okay. Now, the left winger, if for those of you remember, had the
long blade,
long stick, the needlessly long stick, but it was part of the game.
Right. But you could go to basically the.
Actually, that's the right winger that had the long stick, Mike.
Well. Okay, I'm
one of the wingers. That's
it's at least on our bubble hockey over there. It's the right winger.
Well, basically, you could handle the puck and have it against the boards on the blue line, and spin it, and the defenseman or the winger on the other team could not reach it. So you had a free opportunities, and the other one was basically almost like a shot put type of shot using the defenseman. You had the puck in the feet of the defenseman, and all you did was push the thing
forward. Yes.
Oh, the push forward move. Yeah, I used
that was the play for the center as well, like the quick play on the center play as well.
But it was hard to play goalie in that. It was very hard.
Well,
after a while, also the side to side wouldn't move that quickly.
Yes, my technique with the goalie was just keep going back and forth, so the other person
you obstruct the view more than you stop it.
Right. but those were two really good methods, and I became not proficient. I lost to some people.
Well, there are big, knock hockey and bubble hockey tournaments all over the country. And during the second lockout, the one that we lost half a season on, I was bored and looking for information. Can't imagine what that feels like. And looking to write something. And I found a bubble hockey tournament in South Jersey, and I got myself to be invited to it. I brought my wife along because my wife and I, bubble hockey is like, before pickleball, which has taken over recently, bubble hockey was like the great decider on arguments between my wife and I. By the end of it, we would just be laughing. We forgot what we were fighting about type thing. So bubble hockey really saved us a lot of crazy nights. But my wife was really good at bubble hockey. We were very competitive back and forth on that. And so I found the tournament, went to the tournament. We got entered into it. It was just, and they were like, there were 4 bubble hockey sets in this guy's basement. He held the tournament like twice a year or whatever. Really nice guys, super nice guys. And I got smoked. I played like the number. Some of the guys had like national ranking certificates with them. Like I played the number 11 guy in the country. So my wife played the number 4 guy in the country in the first round and beat him. And it was just bizarre. It was like she got every lucky break she could possibly get. I mean, we're talking about some of these guys could take shots with their back guy from right. One of the favorite shots was right next to the little plastic net to take it and use the net as like your thumb, like your flicking thumb. Use the net to lift the puck, and this guy could put it into the upper corner where if you had your goalie all the way across against the puck, you couldn't stop it. It was impossible to stop. So you had to
like Anton Forsberg. It's the same thing.
That's right. You had to actually stop with. You had to actually stop. You're on today, Russ. Russ is on. You actually had to stop the puck. You had to stop the play with a player because you couldn't stop it. And even then, your players, you had to just get it perfectly right. So my wife won the game. She beat the guy, which the guy was like totally like messed up. He was really upset about it. He was legitimately upset because it was a serious tournament.
So, okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you consider air hockey a hockey game?
Of course.
Yeah.
Air hockey is definitely a hockey game.
Yeah, and that was really popular by me because if you went ice skating, they would always have air hockey. So, like, if you wanted to take a break, you go play air hockey. In my house, we actually like it a lot. We've had, like, small air hockey tables and stuff. Air hockey's fun. It was really cool at the beginning because there was nothing like it with all the air on the puck carrying it. It was pretty amazing. The one thing I got good at is if you had decent reflexes, you would basically just wait for that person to clear and take that clear and put it right on the net. Like no hesitation.
Right.
And that was your best chance a lot of times of scoring.
I got to kill it.
Yeah.
You have to make sure you don't catch it on an edge or it goes flying off the ring.
Which happened a lot.
My scoring technique was always the bank shot, was always like basically banking it off the wall because the person would never know whether it was going left side or right side.
Yeah, the bank shot, though, it does give you an extra second, though, to at least figure even if you can't figure out the side, you sometimes would get lucky with the save that way.
You have to mix it up with the straight shot because it's sort of like the draw play or the regular, or like in football, it's like your tendency is to react to it, and then all of a sudden something else happens.
But the tables were massive originally. Like they were just way too big.
They were. They really were. We have one of the ones, though. Our air hockey table was in the Spectrum, actually.
Okay.
Part of the auction.
I remember that one.
And it's got the behind the net thing, which is pretty cool in air hockey, and all kinds of really cool features. Another great tournament. Another great like air hockey. Air hockey is the kind of thing, if you're going to ever get an air hockey game, you should spend money to get an air hockey game because they are really, there's a lot of cheap air hockey.
But it is one that you could get cheaply too, and it'll work.
Depending on what kind of how much you were going to beat it up, right?
Right.
There were some good ones. I'm trying to
think a pool table. Like a pool table, you got to get a good pool table. But you could get a medium crappy air hockey table and still have fun.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Now, there were lots of different kinds of rod hockey games, if you remember. Like going back to the initial rod hockey was like the Bobby Hull rod.
Yeah, the Bobby Hull was the first one.
Probably the most famous. My grandmother had this one, and the difference between that one, if I remember right, I'm trying to get a picture of it, was the players actually weren't in slots. They just rotated. They just spun.
They spun.
It wasn't like where you had the slots.
Yeah, the slots weren't available in those days. And like I used to say in that game, we used to do penalties. If you had a penalty, you would take the guy off the runner. And you could still like push the puck without the player on the metal, but that's all you could do, right? Because you lost everything else. So that used to be the penalty part of it.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Well, because after a while,
I'm actually being told it was different than that. Actually, Rob, I must be thinking of another one. The Bobby Hull the players did slide up and down.
Well, they did. Okay.
There is one that they didn't. I'm trying to think of what.
The reason we had penalties is because if you had a guy in front of the net and you just started just twirling it and whatever and just flailing, it became like really annoying. And most of the time they wouldn't score anyhow, but you could break the player. So then that's what we would call a penalty. There'd be guys that would do that.
Now, was this the first game that had the sliding where you slid the puck for the faceoff? Remember, it slid down the thing.
Well, this is
Bobby Hull.
The scoreboard. There was a
after
scoreboard.
that.
I forget which one that was, but there was a scoreboard thing where you dropped.
There was one that was after
all
that.
the way down and to drop the faceoff, which was
this is the one that we had around here. It was the metal. Oh
yeah.
And metal players. It was Leafs versus Canadians.
Yeah, you see those sticks on the Bobby Hull. They didn't stick out that far. They weren't as good.
I have a Bobby Hull here. I'll show it. I'll show it right here.
They were more formed metal, and I don't think they were anything like that.
Yeah, they were this one. So yeah, they were definitely metal. This is the Bobby Hull one. Let me see.
The sticks on those are a lot better.
Yeah, those are the actual wooden sticks. This is the Bobby Hull.
Yeah.
This is 1972 Bobby Hull hockey.
Right. So you know what it is? I was always thinking because the guy in the corner, look, you can't do anything but go up and down. That's all you can do.
Right. You can just go straight up and down. And this is before you could go behind the behind the net too.
I mean, basically, they're like having that guy in the corner is like having Milan Lucic now. That's all you can do.
So Guapa says they would have guys fight. You just twisted like crazy each other.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Because look, you could have the center and the defenseman literally just hitting each other with the sticks, and we would do that.
That's excellent. Now there was like a little bit later, and I'm trying to find which one it was. There was a rod hockey one.
Well, they had a Wayne Gretzky one, I think, years later.
There was definitely a Wayne Gretzky one, and
was he carrying his stick high?
He had his shirt tucked into his pants.
The Wayne Gretzky hate.
Wine. I mean, jeez, get over it already.
What would have happened if he had been? What would have happened actually if the Leafs would have just anteed up and gotten Gretzky instead of the Rangers? I wonder.
The world would have ended.
They were. That team was too far gone after that.
Well, so were the Rangers, but they still for 1 year they at least were good.
Yeah.
I still say if they had been healthy going into that series against the Flyers, that would have been a heck of a series. They had way too many guys.
It would have been a better series for sure.
Karpovtsev being out, Kovalev had the torn ACL, Sundstrom was out.
It hurt him.
Now Stiga is kind of like the maker of the rod hockey game, official like rod hockey game nowadays. They work with the NHL. This is it. I'll show you here. This is this is definitely.
Now I know they have desktop ones which look kind of good.
Yeah, this is the one that actually that you can buy it like on NHL.com and stuff like that. And they are
I've seen that.
Yeah, they're pretty. I mean, they're pretty good. They have the guy who goes behind the net, which is kind of nice. I like that part of it behind the net here. And they have
what if you get that one today, and then all of a sudden the Coyotes move and become another team? Do you just take the decal off the wall?
Well, it's funny you say that. There is a actual aftermarket thing now where you can get these Stiga guys or like the straight up bubble hockey guys from Czechs. They're called Czechs bubble hockey. You can get them painted. Like they're people who do it on you go on eBay or Etsy. You can see that they'll paint anything for you. They'll paint your men's league team uniform.
Right.
It's just a lot of fun, which is a really cool thing. I would never have the patience to do that at all.
Well, putting on stickers years ago was also a pain in the neck. My father used to go nuts when we got our air hockey, the bubble hockey games. Have to put the stickers on. It was the most annoying thing in the world.
Oh, I know. To put them on perfectly, he was like an exact person.
It was almost impossible to get them perfectly.
It was near
impossible to get them perfectly. I know. I put like advertisements on ours. I'll tweet it. I'll send it out on net. What do you call it? I don't know. What do they call it?
Ecker's selling advertising for the boards.
I do. I have Instagram boards. I have advertising on the boards. They're not sold, but hey,
take a boost.
That space is available. Now there was one, and I can't think of which one it was. I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, actually, it's on the ice.
Go ahead.
We said PT. It's actually on the ice.
And I was saying take a boost.
Ice tea. There you go.
Gold Peak.
Well, it seems like Gold Peak has replaced Take a Boost for you in your life.
No, it's a combination of Gold Peak and Mexican Coke.
If I drank Take a Boost during the quarantine, I would be dead by now, Russ. It's
bueno.
Like, you gotta be
But
really
you're taking those pills. You should be dead from those.
What?
Those pills.
My survival pills. No. They're fine. We haven't taken them yet. We haven't reached that level of. We haven't reached the level of zombie apocalypse.
That's when it's the zombie apocalypse.
We're getting there again.
Yeah.
Wait, you're taking those instead of eating brains, right? Is that the conscious decision you're going to make?
No, this is to avoid going outside. This is like 3 of those a day. That's all you need to eat to survive.
See, okay. I wish I could have found this on for a table hockey game. Hold on. A Quebec Nordiques.
Oh, see,
that's cool.
That's freaking awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean,
these must have been painted because I can't imagine.
Oh, they're totally painted.
Yeah, they're painted. You can
but
tell.
They look pretty good.
Oh, they look. I mean, the painted ones look great. Like ours, we painted ours ourselves. Well, the U.S.
Like
already
faces on those and stuff. That'd be great.
Yeah, right. The big bubble, like the big, handlebar mustache.
Yeah,
that's what I think of when I think of the Quebec Nordiques.
Yeah, and one looks like Dale Hunter running Pierre Turgeon into the boards.
I think is pulling our chain, saying that he got tanged up for the end of the times. I don't think anybody drinks Tang but Mike. I really, if you drink Tang, take a picture and put it in the chat room.
Yeah, we're challenging it right now.
There's nothing wrong with Tang.
There's nothing wrong with Tang. Yeah. Mm-mm.
I think if we looked at it really closely, there's things wrong with it.
So we'll do video games tomorrow, but we'll do the hard games today. This is fun. So
we should talk about the Carjala Cup.
Yeah, we can talk about that after. But
yeah, we'll get one more down here. So the other thing I would say, there was a rod hockey game that was sold a little while ago. If someone can find it for me, I had it. I liked it a lot. It was typical rod hockey where they spun, but there was also a mechanism on the end of the rod that was like a little flicking type thing, which made your stick go forward and backwards on the player, which was really cool because you could lift the puck with it, and that was kind of neat. And that definitely was very technological as far as the rod hockey goes. We had that one right before we got the actual rod hockey. And then there's the ultimate thing, which is this is the experimental version of this, which is a friend of mine did, which is really cool. I got to bring this up for you guys, which is called magnetic hockey. These a couple kids over in North Jersey made this, and they actually did it. Here it is. Is this it? Yeah. This is it. This is really pretty freaking amazing. They made this thing. Well, actually, this is another thing altogether. I'll show you this. This is fun too. We had this too. Believe it. This is how weird I am. I actually own this. You guys will like this.
You don't need to see anything to know that.
Now, Eck, is the Mattel handheld hockey going to count as a video game, or is
that's a video game. We have that.
What about the Mattel Electronics, the 1 and 2, the shooting, the blue ones?
Yeah, that's what I mean. The blue one. Yeah,
I like Mattel Electronics, the one-on-one one where you had a goalie and a
what is this hockey in an octagon? What is this?
Okay, so what this is? Okay, this is pretty funny because we actually own this. This is these are little hockey players, right? And you spin them, but you have a magnet that you hold underneath. You hold magnets underneath the table, and you can move the players around.
I don't like it.
No, neither do I. Do you remember the football game with the vibrating?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody had that game.
Classic, of course.
If you hit the guy with the pass, it's a completion.
Yeah, you know how hard it was to hit someone with a pass?
It was impossible. That's why it was almost impossible.
And stick to the guy. You would have to stick to him.
Then you'd have to reset everybody up after every play.
Yeah.
Here's the one I want to show you guys. Now, this is really cool. So I'm going to bring this up here and show this. These guys are amazing, and they're still working on it.
Where did they make that hockey game? It looked like it was made in Finland or something.
I think it is like a Swedish thing for sure. It definitely Swedish. But this is the future of magnetic. Here we go. This is magnetic hockey. Now, I had one of these in my house for about 3 months, and tried it out just to write a review about it. It's really pretty incredible. So this is the concept of this was is okay. So we can pass this over here. Okay, so first of all, this is what the table looked like. It was a 2-on-2 game. You go goalie. One of the cool things they did was they made a 5-hole for the goalies, which I thought was pretty freaking cool.
Oh yeah, okay.
And the hands-free goalie control thing, which is this is an amazing thing here. Is you move the goal? I see that foot thing, how that works.
Oh Jesus!
That is so freaking cool.
So you strain your ankle.
No, it's really cool because that you can control.
So you tear your Achilles.
Yeah. So see how it works. You have no slots. You literally you can move around the puck.
I'm guessing these didn't sell very well.
No,
they're still they're still in prototype.
Still prototype.
They are. And I played this game
after 20 years. It's still
Wait. So if they're still in prototype, did Elon Musk make it?
No,
he's
probably
smoking dope.
But you can see how this works. I mean, it is pretty friggin' cool. I mean, it's like the idea of it was just 2-on-2, and you could take players off. They made a version of it with what are you going to call it, soccer too. But I like the concept of like a 5-hole for the goalie. Like I thought that was pretty interesting.
You know what the problem is? The fact that it's 2-on-2, there's just too much ice. There's no way to play defense on this.
Yeah, you had because your guy could go not just straight ahead, but could go side to side.
Right. Like this is playing on European ice and nobody ever being able to lay a hit.
See, if
it is like that to a degree.
If you were going to be realistic and have a goalie with the 5-hole, if you had Roberto Luongo, the 5-hole should have been about 5.
Listen, John Davidson before 79 was like that too.
Yeah.
No, it was a 10-hole.
Actually, sorry, it was 3-on-3. I thought it was 2-on-2. It was 3-on-3.
All right, that looks a little better.
Yeah, it definitely has its own thing. We had one of these in our house for a while. I almost bought it. It was expensive, but we tried it out.
What's expensive? Cool. Give us a.
I want to say it's like $5,000.
Okay.
That's expensive.
That's expensive.
It's expensive. I mean, like a bubble hockey game is half that, probably.
Yeah, what is that other thing on the bottom there? Is that like an ashtray so you could put your?
No, that's where the puck goes.
Okay. Can I just point this out because I was looking up table hockey stuff here, and there was a like interchangeable goaltenders, and I'll pull this up just to illustrate something here. It has a mini goalie here, and of course Russ's favorite, Freddie Anderson.
It's a good regular season. It's a good regular season goalie.
Speaking of 5-holes,
Russ, Freddie Anderson has never had a beard in his at least.
No, never.
And they got him looking like
that's so weird.
It's like the early Santa Claus from the Year Without a Santa Claus.
He may have had a beard early, like with Anaheim, but he definitely not with the Leafs.
No, not at all. I was just struck by that. It's like, wow.
That's funny.
It's awesome.
I would try and get another goalie if I were playing that game. But anyhow.
Man. Anyway, well, that was our little discussion about table hockey games like that. I'm glad you guys. Let's get into some. What do we have here? What do we got to talk about?
I'll talk Kajala Cup for a minute because I mean, as we expected, Russia won. That was no big deal. I don't even know who they beat because I missed the last couple of games. But
I think the game yesterday was the Czechs because it was a red jersey.
Okay. End of the day, you're really just watching this for prospects. And so as an example, Sam Ersson played for Sweden, and he's a Flyers goalie he's the one that everybody forgets. Everybody knows Sandstrom and Ustamenko and everybody. But I think Ersson will be the actual eventual backup to Carter Hart. And he played really well. I mean, he got victimized once or twice by Podkolzin and Amarov, but those guys are really great players. Plus, he's been playing in men's league hockey now for a couple of years. I think he's 22. So I could see him coming over in the next year and really moving up the ladder. I just like the way he plays. He's got really good movements. He stops pucks in traffic really well. He's got an excellent stick. And so that's, the one thing about Amarov that I gave him credit for, he was able to open up his 5-hole with just on a 6-on-5 the other day, which was, it's a good move because it was literally a 1-on-1 play, but he was patient. And that's where I gave Amarov the nod on that. With Russia, there's a whole host of guys. Daniil Chaika might be one of the lesser known guys. He's played for Guelph the last couple of years. I really like the way this defenseman played. He's in this year's draft. Got a goal from the point, had a hard wrist shot, really good safe clears, smart. I mean, Askarov was great. Like he's ready for the World Juniors. He has better leg extension than I would say half the goalies in the NHL now. Like he seems to be able to cover that bottom corner, even if he's like even a little left of center in the crease. And that's something. So there's that. He's got a great glove, but he's also one of those guys that he will go out and smother the puck if it's loose. He has a good stick, good glove, but you can go high on him. There's, like a lot of goalies, you definitely can go high. High glove is the way to seem to get him right now, but he's also a right-handed goalie.
Oh, wow.
So like Steve Mason, that's That's the challenge with him. So he played well. Amarov played really well. He had some big goals. I think Amarov can come over at the end of the year if he wanted to. I do, because he's got enough power. He's got a great wrist shot. He plays defense. These games have some defense, not a ton, and they have some hitting, but not a ton. But still, he was making some really good dekes, and the wrist shot would score really at any level. So I was really happy with him. The Wild have a player, and I'll just probably mispronounce this because it was like Kuznutkov, and he was really good. He was a center. I think he's a center. Showed an extra gear. He scored nice goal through the crease. Yeah, he's good on faceoffs, and really he was another guy that they're teaching kids now. You know how Kevin Hayes does the obstructionary thing on faceoffs, Zach?
Right.
Where even if he loses the faceoff, he's still going to batter your stick and try and get it right back.
Right.
And this guy does that, and he does that really well. So that's a good pro move, because then you don't even have to that. By the way, Big Smoke's asked, is that Chaika related to John? No, this guy's Russian. But anyhow, I think it's spelled differently too. But end of the day, I really like this guy. He doesn't get talked a lot about for the Wild. Here's an interesting one now. One that used to get talked about a lot is Jonathan Dahlin, Ulf Dahlin's son. And the Sharks have him now. And I got to tell you, the one thing that always stood out about him was a tremendous wrist shot. And he still has that. His speed seems to be a little better. It wouldn't shock me if in a year or two we all of a sudden see him challenging to be on the Sharks. Because if you can get Dahlin on a pro power play and at the NHL level, he could score some points. It's just a matter of the foot speed. It seemed to be better there, but again, it's open ice. Everybody always looks a little faster. But I was happy to see that the Sharks had him, because he was originally a Winnipeg pick, I think. And so San Jose is good at that. They're good at getting guys that you may have given up on, or they get them in a trade as throw-ins. And those are the kinds of guys in a year or two we could be talking about with the Sharks.
That's interesting. I mean,
he's been traded a couple times too, Russ.
At least once or twice.
I think he was an Ottawa prospect originally.
Yeah, he might have been with Ottawa before San Jose. You're right.
Then Vancouver, and then San Jose. I think he's been.
right.
It was Ottawa, not Winnipeg. It was
Was he in
Ottawa.
US? Was he in the US program for some reason? Why am I thinking US?
No. He's Swedish.
Yeah. I know he's Swedish, but I was thinking.
No, but he's been with them.
Right. Okay.
But he's a good player, man. He's got a good shot, and it's really just the foot speed. And I think he needed to get stronger. He was another guy that was kind of skinny, but Ulf Dahlin was kind of the same way. Like, he was always expected to be this really great player, and then all of a sudden it kicked in for him. And when it kicked in for Ulf Dahlin, it kicked in really good. But I remember it took a little while.
He did. It took it, and then he became a really solid two-way player eventually.
Yeah.
That was the big thing about him that really kind of surprised people. He had the skills, but those guys, some of the Swedish guys and the Finnish guys, that develop a two-way game.
There were a few things from next year's draft, not even this upcoming one, that I'm not really going to talk about, because I didn't watch a lot of them, and the Czech game I didn't see, so I'll have to catch up on that.
Someone asked in the chat room what we think of Ulf Samuelsson being hired as an assistant coach of the Panthers.
Yeah.
Well, my big joke is he will teach guys how to push the helmet over the eyes right off the bat. So that was his best move, man. If you were in the crease, he would do this to Gretzky. He would do it to everybody. He would push your helmet, and it would go down over your eyes for a second, and he would try and muscle you off the puck. Look, he's a smart guy. I've spoken to him.
Yeah.
I do think, and look, his sons are defensemen. One of them didn't make it, but he was pretty good for a while. He's still playing. I think Ulf is good, though. I think he's translatable. I think that that's a good hire, actually.
Well, I wonder when they play Columbus whether Max Domi will jump over the boards and punch out Ulf Samuelsson like his dad did against him.
I think he'll restrain himself. But no, I do like it. I do, and I think that's a good pickup.
I like it a ton. I mean, it gives them more like what you're really looking for in Florida is more character, and it's another character guy, another guy who's like plays like it's legal if you can get away with it type hockey to a degree, I
mean, I didn't love the trade for Sergei Zubov. I hated it, but to be fair, but
yeah,
but the guy can coach. Like, I do think Ulf knows.
He was a dirty player, but he actually wasn't a bad coach. The Rangers had him either.
No, he was good, and that was early in his coaching. He's probably gotten better now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Florida needs that. Florida needs a few tricks. They really do on the blue line. They're gonna have to.
They do. I mean, it's good like that when you hated to play against him. You knew where he was on the ice. He's going to teach guys how to do that. That's a big thing. It's just character. Like what we're seeing, I think you're seeing in Florida is just bringing in like character type people. And like what we talked about, Alan talked about the other day.
But Brian Marchman's been a coach, and he hasn't really taught anybody how to kneecap anybody. So at least that year is gone.
But Ulf was a good defenseman as well. Like,
no, he was.
He was not just a dirty player. He was a dirty player, but he was dirty to get away with it type player.
He also, what people didn't like was he would start and then he would turtle or he would go away from a fight.
Right.
And enforcers didn't like that. They got very frustrated with Samuelson. They did.
Yeah, and that frustration though, that's like it's hard to
Yeah, he's won Stanley Cups with Pittsburgh.
That's why Ty Domi basically will never have to pay for a drink again after he suckered. Which it's funny. He got an 8-game suspension for that, and I'm sure probably a bunch of people split up the fine that he took to pay that because everybody wanted to do that to old Samuelson.
If there was GoFundMe or Venmo or PayPal back then, you would have had more than enough money to pay for that fine.
Right. I've got a quick Domi story. It was at the NHL draft when it was in New Jersey. They still had some events in New York. So we were in the Marriott Marquis, and we're taking the elevator up. And last minute, Ty Domi comes in, right? And he hits the bar in the elevator, and the elevator just goes, it jerks, and it just stops. And I looked at Domi. I'm like, Domi, you broke the elevator. And everybody started laughing.
Oh, he's like... He's a funny guy.
He started to laugh too.
No, I mean, as much as one of those people I could not stand as a kid, of course, because he was, a Ranger. I mean, Thomas Sandstrom School of Turtling. But yeah, that no question about it. So I just
not with Probert, man. Those were the best fights.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I know they were good fights. But yeah, it's now Ty Domi is like the happy-go-lucky guy all the time whenever you see him.
Now, Funky's saying not likes when Darren McCarty sucker punched Claude Lemieux. In that regard, nobody cared. Nobody was on Claude Lemieux's side either.
Yeah.
About Chris Draper.
There's a little bit of a comeuppance there,
But Darren McCarty, you can't talk about him in Philly because he scored the goal in 97, and he's like an unlikely guy to score the goal. And even though the Flyers were not going to win that series, everybody in Philly hates Darren McCarty as a result. So if you ever want to get under somebody's skin who's like X age or a little younger, you go Darren McCarty.
Yeah. That's a little younger than me, but I mean, obviously, I was there for that. I was there for that series, for sure. But I'm more of that Thomas Sandstrom hatred world. He was definitely my most hated player as a kid.
Yeah, Sandstrom. Yeah, he was a stick guy. That's the way they taught a lot of players back then from overseas.
I mean, if you remember, the Flyers, the Broad Street Bullies Flyers. In a couple series against the Leafs, they terrorized Borje Salming.
Yeah,
and Borje Salming had to become a stick, basically a swordsman with his stick. And he was like that for the rest of you. You wanted to mess with Borje Salming, you were going to get a stick in the face.
Yeah, just to show you how organizations used to really truly hate each other. When I was working on the 100 Ranger Greats book with John Halligan, I had met some of the old Flyers, and Dave Schultz was one of them. And I told John, I said, John, I got to tell you, I hated this guy as a player, but this is a great interview that he held.
That's the funniest thing. That's one of the coolest things about it.
He couldn't be nicer, and he couldn't have given a better interview. And John just said, yeah, he's a regular effing choir boy, isn't he?
No, but definitely one of the coolest things about this job, like meeting guys.
He was a longtime PR guy for the Rangers, and the hatred was still there for the Flyers and the Broad Street Bullies. This is 2009, and it was still strong.
Yeah,
look, as a Ranger fan, I love Sandstrom, so he could be dirty, he could do whatever you want. And Dave Brown was a dirty SOB also. So let's not
no question about it. He was also a Ranger. But I totally agree with you. No question.
I hated Sandstrom because he was on Gretzky's wing in the 93 series.
Yeah, that also played into it.
And I loved it.
No, I mean,
Dave Brown was a terror on the ice, but Eck and I would see him all the time in the press box, and he's a nice guy.
Richard.
He's like the gentle, goofy giant.
He really is.
He's really
these guys are like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, goons are generally, and we've probably talked about it before, but they're like the nicest people in the world. I mean, they
do a job. They're programmed to do a job almost. It is like that. It's almost like they're RoboCop. But then when they're, when they're retired, they do turn into these lovable guys.
It's bizarre, and some of them have, and a lot of them have turned into scouts. Like,
I think
they spent a lot. I remember I talked to Brown one time about them. Like, how did you end up becoming a scout? Like, I talked to Brown about this, and he's like, well, he spent a lot of time playing. Back then I was on the bench a lot. I was watching hockey more than I was playing. I would be like the fourth line. I get out there when they needed me to beat up somebody.
Kasparaitis, you could say what you want about him. He was always a good guy. It's just Ranger fans didn't. He was way overpaid, but he was still a good player.
He wasn't bad there. Granted, he was overpaid, but he just unfortunately his body had broken down already.
Right.
There's nobody I would have rather had than the Darius Kasparaitis of the Islanders and Penguins when he was still fast enough, because he wasn't big. He was like 5'10", 5'11".
No, but he was like ripped. This guy was a physical specimen. I would see him in the locker room, but he did get the nickname in New York of Casper Minus, but it really wasn't fair because, again,
that team was horrible around him also.
It was.
I hated him because, obviously he took out Lindros.
Yeah, that's what I loved about him.
Well, yeah, he was the king of the low bridge hip check.
Oh, right. So my first game I ever covered in the press box in Philly, he was they were playing against, I think, the Penguins, or the Islanders. He was scratched and sat down and was seated directly next to me in the game. It was a funny thing because I was like, I was like a kid. I'm like, oh man, but we're nicest guy. Again, I talked to him for a while. I was like, I have to say, hated you as a player, but it's nice to meet you and all that. And he's like, yeah, he was a really good guy too. So funny.
A couple signings, my entry-level contracts, but guys who were in the draft that we can talk about. Russ, Anaheim signed Jamie Drysdale to the 3-year ELC. I'm just wondering, we know it takes defensemen longer to sort of, cook in junior and the minor leagues, but this is a guy who we thought could have gone as high as third. He ended up obviously in the top 10. How long we think it'll take for him to get to the NHL?
I think he'll get a look next year. If he has another big year, I think he'll get a look next year because his skating is up to par. He plays two-way hockey, so he knows how to play defense too. He's not just an offensive guy.
Right.
And probably just needs to get a little bit stronger like every other prospect, but I could see him getting a look next year.
Right. I mean, the thing is with Anaheim adding Shattenkirk, now they have they obviously have Fowler and they have Manson. They have a couple bigger defensemen in Manson and Lindholm, so they could put a Drysdale in their lineup. Even though he's not a big defenseman, he's more of an offensive guy. So
the fact that he went sixth was really great for them, but also Fowler could be a really good influence on him because he could learn some tricks from Fowler because Drysdale, a lot of his stuff is instinctual. And Fowler, if you remember, he had to learn how to round out his game and he had to go with offense at the right time, but he's great on the power play. And both these guys are great on the power play, but I think Fowler is actually a little better, so he might be able to teach him.
Now, the other one is Perfetti. He signed his 3-year ELC with Winnipeg.
Most Winnipeg fans are happy about it. Some aren't, though. Like, they get their – you know what it is? A lot of times it's like – I want to say it's like Eagles fans, because – Eagles fans always project themselves getting X, Y, or Z in the draft, like Ricky Williams, and when they don't get that player, they boo him like Donovan McNabb, right? Or they're not happy. And Winnipeg seems to be that team now too, where fans are like, "Well, this is who we want," and then you get Cole Perfetti, like this is, and then they're like, "Yeah, we don't think he's going to be that good," and it's like.
They're like big. They're big. A lot of those guys are prospect people up there in Winnipeg because there's so many junior hockey things going around, and a lot of guys that they followed for years before there was a pro team up there. They were really like the follower of players. Like they followed different players to different teams. You were a fan of this guy because he played. You knew him or whatever. So in that intermittent time between the Jets teams, that's what they did. So I think they still have a really good sense of that.
Now I'll tell you this: besides being a great player, and he is a two-way player, he. In the under 18s, won it himself, for Canada with shootout goals. Just a great performance. We've seen that before, like in other tournaments and Olympics and such. But he did that too. But he also worked with a COVID-19 charity when the season ended, handing out food and things like that. The kid's super smart. I pointed out he's like a math scholar pretty much. So there's a lot of other things that you really like about this player that makes you want this player to be successful.
Well, the thing about him is if they hadn't traded for Paul Stastny, the thought might have been there to see if he could fill that number 2 center role. It's awful a lot to ask from an 18-year-old, but I think because they traded for Stastny, they'll allow him a year of development.
And I think that was smart. I think Chevy did that for that reason, because the hardest thing to do is to bring in that young center, especially if you're going to have him taking faceoffs and playing the defense that they have to play. And again, just think about it. If you're playing second line center in the NHL, the kinds of guys that you are out there covering, it's
people have no concept of the jump that exists in the NHL. Like the NHL guys are like they're magicians. They have they have tricks that these guys have never seen, no matter what level of junior they played at. There's things that they just don't know, and they won't know for years, and they have to learn how to. They'll see them and they won't even know how to defend them. And that can really throw them for a loop, because it's like this. They just have no concept. So it really does behoove them to take their time in this situation. Very few players can play a simple enough game to move in slowly, kind of like a Couturier did or something like that. That's a really rare thing. The pressure is intense. I mean, the players are just so much better. And a guy who's been playing in the NHL for 10 years is ridiculous at this stuff he can do compared to a guy who hasn't been playing in the NHL. Yeah.
I think with the chat room, by the way, they're asking about Matt Barzal. He hasn't been signed.
Yeah.
And I would say this, some less than knowledgeable Twitter/writers are saying, well, how are they going to sign Barzal? There's only $3.9 million in cap space. Listen, don't worry about Lou. He'll figure it out.
Don't worry about that.
If that's the least of your worries, do you really think he's going to offer him just $3.9 million? Come on, man.
I wrote yesterday about this, and it's the offer, the spot that it seems like they're landing in is at around 6.5 for 3 years, 6.5 for 3 years, which is, a little bit higher
under what he would like to make, for sure.
But based on what's happening in the world right now,
that's the Braden Point deal.
It actually very much
that deal still.
That's exactly. I mean, Braden Point made.
But will he be an RFA after that deal?
Yeah, he's got one.
He's got one more year, right?
1 year of arbitration eligibility, then UFA.
Yeah, so it's a bridge deal, but it is.
I would be very worried about signing him to a bridge deal. I really would, because again, I don't want to say you're looking at a Tavares situation, but you really could be.
Well, if you get him back with 1 more year as an RFA, you're okay.
Right, I know, but again, he might still at that point.
Yeah, just go.
He's a year away from UFA, and I'll sign this deal. And I'll play out my string with the Islanders, and then we'll see if they have the money for me or not.
Russ, what they're looking at, if you look at their roster and their players, Ladd's contract would be over in 3 years. Boychuk's contract would be over in 3 years. Leddy, Pulak, and Varlamov. That's almost $25 million. So they're probably saying, okay, we can pay him the $10 million. Then if he puts up 3 more good years and he's one of the best centers in the league, we can pay him what he's worth then. That's why I just don't.
That's a handshake agreement, Mike. No players don't like that anymore. And yes, I'm sure Matt Barzal has a lot of loyalty for the Islanders, but this is when he's supposed to get paid, right? And I do think he's going to look for more term than an RFA bridge deal. And I just have a feeling if he gets a bridge deal, then you're starting to play with fire with him.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I think it should be a 6-year deal. It should be something like Rantanen or Marner or those guys. I'm not saying the amount, but I'm saying that's what he should be getting. But like I said, the only way that they can afford to do that is by sending Jeff Goluli out to break Andrew Ladd's leg. Now it's like they need Andrew Ladd on LTIR to clear his $5.5 million.
Twice that you've mentioned Jeff Goluli on the show in 2 weeks.
in the same context. It's like, Andrew Ladd is a 34-year-old player who can't play in the NHL anymore, making $5.5 million, and they're sending him to the minors. They need him to basically go on find a skin rash or something like that. And so they could clear his salary. Otherwise,
Funky makes a good point. He said that Barzal saw what went on with Tavares, and again, now what was different was things really came together just as Tavares was pretty set on leaving, with the coach coming in and everything else. Those things are there, but again,
It's gonna be different for Barzal. I mean, he's gonna see them in the new arena. He's gonna see. There's gonna be a very different world. Like he's gonna, if he gets here for 3 years, he's gonna see.
He's being asked to hold off, and that's the problem. Like he's gonna make 6.5. Is there anybody else on that team making that same money?
Well, I think Pulak by then will end up making it by the end of the 3 years. And they have to re-sign also.
That's what his agent's not going to like.
Anders Lee is making 7. Brock Nelson is making 6. Boychuk is making 6.
Right. So there's your problem right there.
Here,
it's different.
Brock Nelson making 6.
The big problem.
That's the problem.
The big problem for Lou here. I'm pretty sure they're the only team in the NHL that has in double figures players who make over $5 million. They have 11 players making $5 million or more. That's irresponsibility. Now it's not all on Lou.
Really
it's partially Garth Snow.
He inherited some of that. But I'm just saying, if you're a player agent and you say, okay, you're going down and looking around the team and you're saying, Lou, you're offering us 6.5.
Right.
And Barzal is a much better offensive player than Brock Nelson, who's making 6.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah, here you go. I'll just read it off quickly. Lee, Nelson, Eberle, Ladd, Bailey, Peugeot, Boychuk, Leddy, Pulak, and Varlamov, all making $5 million or more.
Yeah. See, at least with Lee, you could say, hey, look, there's other things he does.
He's a captain.
I mean, the weird thing for Lou, the weird thing about this whole situation, the way it's played out, is that when they sign, like even the Peugeot deal, when they sign that deal, he's going to the owners are saying, I'm going to let you go I'm going to let you go a lot higher because we have the new building coming in. We're going to be able to open up the books and be able to, when the cap before the salary cap. Remember, the salary cap was going to go up. It was, wasn't long before we ended that. Bill Daly came out and said the salary cap could go up to like $6 or $7 million.
Right.
So the feeling was, I'm sure the Islanders, were saying like, yeah, we really want to make a big splash. You're going to the new building. You'll have plenty of money to sign Barzal. So that's, that's the weird thing. So I think there is going to have to be a handshake deal with Barzal. Say, listen, take this until these other guys.
It didn't have to be like, as an example.
No.
When the Islanders, got eliminated, they could have started to look for a place for Varlamov to send them. That would be the additional money.
They did try. They did.
I don't know how hard they tried.
Where did they put him? I mean, there were so many goalies available. It's like, they're for free. Goalies were way cheaper.
$4 million for Varlamov. It's not that expensive. Yeah, I didn't hear him attached to anybody, to be honest.
I know Colorado at one point, but that's the only. I mean, I know
he's been there before.
I know.
Part of why Sorokin's coming over is because Varlamov is there.
Yeah, but you can't worry about that.
I agree with you. I'm just saying that was attached to him, which is why they signed him originally.
I know.
Look, Lou will figure something out. It's just some of the cap management has been questionable based upon the contracts they afforded some of these guys.
Right.
And the recent contracts, like
Peugeot's $5 million. You bring back Barzal. You have Barzal 6.5 at least. Nelson making 6. Peugeot making 5. That's pricey for a third line center to a certain extent, but they do free up cap room over the next couple of years. The problem is going to take a while to get out from under.
I mean, I can't blame Lou for the ones that Snow was responsible for.
Well, Ladd, yeah, of course.
Boychuk, Leddy, Ladd,
Yeah.
Bailey. I mean, Bailey's probably fair.
I think I thought they were going to let Eberle go. I thought it was ridiculous that they re-signed him. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but based on who, they're paying Nelson 6, they're paying at least 7. It's bad cap management.
And the problem is Lee's production declined ever since Tavares has left.
And what would have happened if they had gotten Tavares to stay? Think about that too. Like, there's a lot of things that would have really turned.
And they would have let Lee go.
Yeah, Lee would never be there.
I don't know that Lee would have been the guy they would have liked.
I think Eberle would have been gone.
They wouldn't have the money yet. They wouldn't have had the money to resign him because they were offering Tavares more than the Leafs were offering. They were offering
$11 million a year. They were offering him, I think, over $11 million a year.
They were offering him 12.
Yeah. I probably.
Peugeot definitely wouldn't have been there.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. That's. I mean, and that still is a bit of a strange trade. The Peugeot trade is definitely still. I mean, he gave the Islanders what they wanted. I mean, when he came to the Islanders, he was really good in the playoffs for sure. But moving forward, Peugeot has been up and down. I mean, I like him.
He was good. I mean, he played well in the playoffs. They need Peugeot. at this point in time, if you could get them to back out of one of the recent contracts, they would have paid Nelson less. They would have kept him because he's a good player, but you wouldn't have paid him $6.
Yeah. I think what Mark Peterson says right here is absolutely true. Like this, when he says in the chat room, he says, Brock Nelson doesn't make $6 million if Tavares is there. I think.
No, I agree. I mean, that's when Lou had to overpay some guys to basically not have the fan base revolt, and he signed Lee and Nelson quickly.
Look, and they paid a lot for Clutterbuck and Cizikas also,
right?
Making over $3 million each.
Yeah, they wouldn't have signed. They wouldn't have signed Leo Komarov to a 4-year deal had they signed Tavares. They would have signed Phil. Then they signed Phil. No, they didn't sign Phil. No, they signed Filppula after Tavares left to 1 year. Yeah, so.
Well, that's all the time we have for today, guys. Great talking as always. Thanks for watching us. You can support the show by going to patreon.com/hockey and letting us know what you think. And feel free to leave your comments in the chat room. The ones that aren't, awful will make it through.
The ones that aren't Tang related or
they'll make it through.
Oh, that narrows it down.
And we'll be back again tomorrow. We're going to talk a little bit of video hockey tomorrow. I'm going to talk about the new NHL game as well tomorrow, which is really fun, and the NHL '94 thing that they did with that, which is also really cool. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey.